Hey everyone, thanks for joining the podcast today. Today we've got Cody and Ryan from the shop. They're just coming off of an elk hunt, archery elk hunt, and we're just going to kind of talk to them about how their hunt went, the pros, the cons, the ups and downs, the cries and the laughs. Probably more crying than laughing, probably.
A lot of cries for me, but I
Uh,
don't know about. I know Cody had a lot of good, but
we're just going to
Yeah,
kind of
so
jump into this. If you guys like the podcast, please subscribe to it and like it, please. It really helps us out, and so we get this thing rolling. So, guys, thanks for coming on. We're all back to the real world. So,
back to the
Ryan, you
grind.
had Ryan, you
yep,
had unit 27. Is that right?
yep,
And Cody had
27.
Cody had unit 1.
Unit one.
So, from my gathering, this is probably one of the rougher elk hunts we've had in the state of Arizona. Talking to guys, talking to guides, and not just unit 1 and 27, but statewide. I think 8 and 9 did pretty good, but quality of bulls, number of bulls, um, pretty rough year. Everybody's crying the blues quite a bit. So um, let's kind of talk about our units and how we did. And Ryan, we'll start with you, bud.
Yeah, it was rough to say the least.
This is your
uh,
this is your second elk hunt in 27. Is that
yeah,
correct?
it's that
Okay.
second elk hunt in 27. The last year I had was pretty rough too. I think it was 2019, I believe, during that drought, pretty big drought. Yeah, it was rough. Hunted for 11 days alone, and then those last 2 days I met up with Corey Jones, Brian's friend, who was guiding two clients out there. Um, we met up for the last 2 days. I hunted every day, morning, night. Rut seemed to just never kick off for me. I mean, bulls would be talking early morning and then late night, but then during the day they wouldn't say much. Just very few elk in general. The cow to bull ratio seemed very high. Corey was saying that's the most cows to bulls he's ever seen in 27. Usually you'd find like one herd bull with 20 cows. I wouldn't see much satellites in general.
So the obviously, usually on the archery hunts, the second week always kind of ramps up. The first week's always kind of crappy.
Yeah. Hmm.
I know when I went up and talked to, I helped Cody on one morning, and you kind of had the same thing, didn't you, Cody? The first week was pretty rough.
Yeah, it seemed like one day was reps kicked off, like it was rolling, and then the next day would go out and wouldn't hear or see a single thing, like it hadn't even begun. So it
Right.
was just weird in that sense of it was like we got a bunch of false positives. We'd go out one morning and rut seemed like it started, and then the next morning we'd go out and there's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we'd go out in the morning and there'd be like four or five bulls kicking off right out of the truck, and we'd be like, all right, it's game time. We'd hike in the dark, get in there, get on them, and then there just wouldn't be another noise. So we couldn't follow them. The wind would switch, would go bad. It
Or
was just hard.
they'd shut down right at sunlight, even
Yep.
shortly before sunlight, and the bigger bulls would typically be back in the timbers before sunlight.
So talking to some other guys who were coming in, they said the same thing about the mornings were just awful. Afternoons, they hit like one or two bugles and then shut up after that. And I heard that through the entire hunt. And as far as quality bulls go, did you guys see any big bulls or anything like that?
None for me. I mean, I would say the biggest bull I saw was maybe like a 340, but that was rare. Most of them are around 300 from what we could guess.
It seems like 27 is always for the last few years. Like all the bulls leave 27 during that early archery,
It,
and they run the
I,
one and they run a reservation.
I'm convinced. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, I think so.
That 27 always seems to be a little bit more of a late hunt, late unit
He
hunt that seems to do well.
Corey was saying how it felt like a late hunt this year for the early hunt. Like we were hunting it like it was a late hunt. And then, the pressure, which I got a whole bunch on pressure. Like, I've got all the tag numbers, which is insane. And then the wolves, I mean, I talked to multiple people that were seeing wolves take down bull elk during the hunt. And I actually have a video of one chasing a black bear up a tree.
Really?
And so the wolves are getting really bad out there too, and where I was at.
Did you get into the wolves, Cody?
Yeah, we saw a couple scouting, and then I think one or two during the hunt. But hell, there was a pack of three wolves eating on something killed right in front of camp in the middle of the daylight one afternoon.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I was talking to some guys. I guess they had a meeting in Springerville here recently and had somebody from Washington in there, some of these wolf guys. And they're saying that their estimate is from the east side of the Apache reservation to New Mexico. There's 250 wolves. I'm kind of thinking there's more than that
yeah, there's got
from
to be
all that
more
I've
than
been
that.
hearing from people.
Yeah,
Yep.
Um, what's funny is that I had some guys in from the reservation in this last week, and both biologists is predicted their estimates for the reservation is 32 wolves.
Yeah.
And even the Indians are like BS. There's no
yeah,
way. It was like this is
Oh.
Yeah.
ridiculous. And they're talking to those guys. They're really worried about their elk herds, and they're blaming a lot of the wolves on this.
Yeah.
Their quality's way down. Their numbers are way down. I had a guy in that runs the Maverick camp, and he said there's a couple of areas they didn't even go into because there was no elk in them at all.
Yeah.
Before there was quite a few elk, so they're really worried about these wolves. The 250 count on the state side, I'm thinking that's a little low from all the sightings that I've heard about. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even people in Alpine on the Facebook groups, which I was joining to make sure to watch all the fires going on in the summer, and constantly people getting on there talking about them going after their pets and everything in town, and they're not happy about it either, I guess.
it's going to take one kid or somebody that get mauled by a freaking wolf before people open up their eyes and
Yeah.
realize that this
yeah,
is
Right.
not a good thing.
Unfortunately.
It's just there's a reason why they're extinct. The reason why they're not here anymore. Well, let's talk a little bit about your guys' preparation for the hunt. Were you guys, we see in the shops and the guys that come in 3 days before the hunt buying broadheads and arrows and trying to get their bows done. I'm assuming that wasn't you guys.
No, the opposite, actually. Too much preparation.
I know Cody
So
had a little late start there with his tag being in a turn-in tag. Kind of got
yeah,
yeah,
notified a
Yeah,
little late.
that was
yeah.
crazy.
I think I definitely had enough time to prepare because I'm usually more prepared than most, but I I wasn't prepared for it to be the year that it was. And I
right.
think overall I'm definitely thankful, and it was a tough hunt, but preparing, I think working at a bow shop and being so involved in the arch community, like I definitely felt a lot more prepared than a lot of the guys that we see coming to the shop, that draw this tag after putting in for a handful of years, and they just pulled their bow out, a week ago, and it needs new strings and a new tune. And meanwhile, I've been shooting my bow pretty consistently, you know, the entire year, and then just kind of dialing in things, going from deer season to into elk. This is my first elk tag, so shifting gears from deer into elk was something new for me. But the preparation was all the same. I think going into this hunt, just maybe a little more pressure for sure, but I
So,
think the preparation
Yeah.
was the same for sure. And just getting out there as much as possible and shooting. So
We make fun of people that come in the shop and the last minute guys that I need this right now. It's like I know it comes first on Friday type thing. And
hmm
I got to admit I'm guilty. I've gone on hunts where I'm literally sighting in my bow at camp in the headlights.
Yeah.
I mean I am that guy.
yeah,
But the difference is that we shoot all the time though. I can put a
yeah,
bow together pretty quick and I can shoot and I
Yeah.
can get dialed in pretty fast.
Right.
It's these guys that haven't shot for 6-7 years and all of a sudden now
well,
oh
yeah,
by the way I
that's
got no tag and it starts in 4 days. So
Yep.
yeah. you have that excuse just like I do, to where I can say, well, no, I haven't shot my bow all last week, but I shot it the week before that, and the week before that, and the week before that. So
Yeah.
Right.
we have that excuse to say, well, we didn't do everything up until the last second of this time, but we've been preparing the whole year for this. So
Yeah.
I know people always tell me it's just so cool to work at a pro shop. You get to shoot your bow every day, and I shoot everybody else's bows every day.
Right.
Exactly.
yeah.
So let's talk about your gear a little bit. Like I'm a broadhead geek. We all know that. What broadheads are you guys using,
I went
Ryan?
with the Evolution Outdoor hide, and then I also had the new Beast, so I had a little bit of both for me, which both shot great. And
Yeah,
yeah.
Cody, you're
I
using the
could I
Beast.
I committed to the beast this year. I've like I said, this is my first elk hunt, so I definitely did some research. I definitely did some planning. There was definitely some thought that went into it, but I know that there's not the idea of, oh, I'm gonna pick this and try this out, and then if this doesn't work, I'm gonna run this, and if this doesn't work, I'm gonna run that. You gotta kind of commit to something, and that's what I did this year. I committed to something that not a ton of guys are confident in, or a ton of guys, with the mechanicals and whatnot. But I committed to the beast this year, uh, and I guess it's still kind of out there, on how I
Well,
feel
Yeah.
about it. But
it's
I
one of
got a
those
bull
things
hanging on the wall, so there's
that
that.
Yeah.
worked.
Right. It's all that
You
matters.
know, the problem with an elk with a broadhead for an elk is that we don't. It's not like you can go out there and test this thing and have a
Yeah.
lot of history with broadheads. It's not like
Right.
some of these guys that live back east that are shooting a deer a day and they can do testing on some animals. It's one thing to have a broadhead fly good. It's a whole other thing
Yeah.
to have it react and do what you want it to do in the animal. And we don't
Yeah.
get that kind of testing out in Arizona. When tags are as few and far between as they are. You guys know me. I'm a fixed blade guy when it comes to elk. I'm not the mechanical dude, but like I've always said, if a mechanical works, man, Stevie Wonder
Yeah.
can run the blood trail. But if they
Right.
don't, it can be a rodeo. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I it, like it comes down to the broadheads. It comes down to the bow. It comes down to the shot. And my biggest philosophy going into it was, if I can increase my cutting diameter by 100%, why wouldn't I do it? And that was kind of my thought process going into it. And whether it's right, or I don't know, but that was my thought process, going into
Right.
it, and choosing that broadhead. I mean, there's other factors that went into it too, but increasing my cutting diameter by 100%, that was my main factor choosing the beast this year.
Yeah.
elk are just such a big animal. It's one
Yeah.
thing to blow through a white-tailed deer or a
Yeah.
javelin or something like that. When you get to a body of an elk and it's so deceiving sometimes the way an animal is sitting. If it's really quartering to you, away from you, broadside. I can't tell you how many guys I've been with that have shot that swore it was broadside and it was quartering more to them. We look at the video later, and all those factors come into play.
Well,
My,
not just that, but anatomy alone, like, being a medic in the military, like, I understand anatomy, and I've explained this to guys before, but you know, especially an elk, an animal that has such a large cavity, when you start talking about, just a lung injury, or, sustaining a lung injury, especially if it's only one lung for an elk, like how much time and how much blood and how much volume that can take before that animal dies, it is insane. And I've definitely learned that now too. Um, just understanding, one, that these animals are so strong. They go through the worst of conditions imaginable, and then just to take one lung away from this animal, it is not going to die quick.
no, I've told you guys the stories before. We killed an elk one time, and when we opened that thing up, it had one lung was just like a rock, and
Yep.
it had G5 Montec in that
Yeah.
rock. I mean, it lived I don't know how long with one lung. They're tough animals to kill. That's for damn sure.
And that's why we always
Absolutely.
tell people too to get your bow tuned, because if that arrow's not coming out of your bow straight, it doesn't matter. You know, if that hits that animal a little bit off to the side, you're just going to lose everything you have going in there too.
Yeah, that's absolutely. You know, anytime you throw a wing on the front of an arrow, which we all know this, you know, everything is amplified. Every flaw you have, every flaw your bow has. You know, it's one thing to, yeah, it's a 100 grain field tip, it's a 100 grain broadhead. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to fly the same. And even
Absolutely.
expandables, you know, I've seen expandables with some bigger wings on them that will affect the flight on them as well. But you know, my biggest thing about mechanicals is if I shoot an animal and I'm trailing this animal and I don't get the blood trail I'm certain that I think I should have, what started going through my head is did it pop open? Did I get
Yeah.
full expansion on it? I
Right.
never think that with a fixed blade.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm going about my shot placement. My shot placement good,
Yeah.
but it never enters my mind did it expand or not. And
Right.
so I, you know, there, there's the argument that's going to be an argument forever. You know, expandables versus fixed blades, and you know, Tim Gillingham and I have had numerous arguments and conversations about it. And I'm like I said, expandables work great when they work, but when
Yeah.
they don't work, man, it can be bad. So, but with that being said, expandables are so much better now too, and so much built
Right.
better than what they used to be. You know,
Right.
back in the day when the Rages first came out, gosh, that was the worst broadhead ever built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would argue with it. Then the guy that invented it lived here in Hebert, like 30 miles away. He come in the shop
Yeah.
and we just have it out. And I'm like, man, I can't tell you how many elk I've seen walk away from a rage hit. You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, there's no way in hell I would shoot that broadhead. You know, they've gotten much better now. But
Yeah.
what I kind of so I know when I was out with you, Cody, it was like the KUIU model. You and Casey were looking sharp, man. I'm telling you.
That's rule number one. Rule
you,
number one is
you
looking
guys did
good.
look
Look
good.
good.
So, yeah. So what kind
Well,
of let's go through our gear list a little bit. What were you
Okay.
guys, you know, let's go through boots and stuff like
so
that.
that is my biggest thing is gear and being in the military and understanding layer system and understanding gear is probably one of the most important things, and one of the most important things while elk hunting. I mean, deer hunting, I don't know, it's a whole different ball game. But elk hunting, like if you're not layered up, you're not packed up right, like your whole day is screwed. And I'm geared through and through. I'm about being comfortable. I'm about having, the best, lightest, quietest. I'm about taking out all the variables. And man, if you can layer yourself right, you're gonna be comfortable. And I've seen too many guys go out there just throwing whatever, warm weather gear they got on, and going out there, and you got to hike up half a mile to go glass, and now you're soaking wet and sweat, and then you're freezing your ass off.
Yeah.
But that is one of the things I do pride myself on, it is buying good quality gear, because man, it does make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. What saved my ass this year is because I know how 27 is I actually brought a tarp. And that opening day, I was 5 miles in, and then one of the you probably had it in one too with the hail and the
Oh
lightning
yeah.
and everything. I was under that tarp. I got a video I can send. I was under that tarp with my hands up on it. Like 30-mile-an-hour wind, hail. I was huddled up behind it, but I
Yeah.
mean, it kept me. I mean, I would have been done for if I didn't have that.
You know, something I carry in my backpack is I carry a piece of Tyvek, which is like a house wrap that they put
Yeah.
around this waterproof house wrap.
Hmm.
I'll have like a 6x6 sheet of it. And it rolls up. It weighs like literally like an ounce and a half or something in my backpack. I use it for when I'm cutting up and processing an animal out in the field. I put all my stuff on that so I don't get dirt and hair in it. But I've used it in times when, you can use it as a shelter if you need to. Um,
Yep.
so it's always good to have something. And it's all about weight too, but
Yeah.
you don't think about it until you're stuck out in the rainstorm. And all of a sudden now you're sopping wet,
Yeah.
and now
Hmm.
it takes you 3 or 4 days to get your stuff to dry out. So
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
boots, what kind of boots you guys wearing?
I've got two pairs. I've got the Hanwag I've tried, and then I got the Zamberlin.
Hmm.
Uh, I forget which type, but um, all leather grain boot. In both of them, I also got the sheep feet in the one pair. I really like those sheep feet insoles. that worked really well for me. And then a key is the gaiters, especially in those mornings with the dew in the grass. If you don't have gaiters on, I mean, your boots are soaked within the first like 3 hours. So I made sure I brought some. I believe I have the Peaks gaiters, which work really the Storm gaiters, I believe they're called. So those are the boots I'm running right now.
Cody, you're wearing gaiters too, I noticed, right?
Yeah, I finally broke down and bought a set of gaiters. I just got the outdoor research ones, but I was running three different kinds of boots. I ran some Crispies. I don't really like the thick ski boot type of boots. I just can't wear them. I gotta have some ankle mobility. The other ones I really like is the Adidas Terex Swift. They're a great boot that I wore all throughout the military. They're a Gore-Tex boot, but they got a little bit more mobility in them. And then the Danners, I don't remember which Danner uh, model I had, but the Danners actually were probably my favorite boot throughout the whole trip.
Mm-hmm.
They're the most waterproof, the lightest weight. So
One of the things I tell people is, there's three things you spend as much money as you can afford on: optics, rain gear, and boots.
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
Everything else is kind of superficial, but those three things can make or break a hunt pretty quick for you.
And
So
having multiple boots to switch out because
yeah, you
you're
gotta
always
have
going to
multiple
soak a
boots.
pair. You
Yeah,
know.
I'll tell you,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, a pair of boots I bought them I was in a tournament at the Break Your Barriers a couple of years ago, and it was just we got there, it was like 95 degrees. All of a sudden, it just started hailing the next day. It was storming really bad, and all I had were tennis shoes. So I went to like an REI and I bought those Sportiva hiking boots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are the most comfortable freaking ass boot I've ever had in
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah,
My wife, I mean, they're not bad looking. I didn't get, some of them are bright color, but these are green. They are the most comfortable boot I've ever worn in my life. I told my wife, I go, man, these granolas have got it figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, I still got Crispies and Kenetrex, but my boots I normally wear are going to be
Yeah.
those, unless
Once
it's
you
going to be
find
really wet.
that,
What's that?
once you find that boot, that's when you order like 3 or 4 pairs of that guy
Well, I
right there.
bought they were I bought because Chief asked me they're on sale, so that's why I bought them.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of wishing I had bought more of them. But so tell me, how else did it go? You guys were you guys tripping over people on these units?
Oh, it was out of control for me. I mean, the
How many
side by
tags are in
sides,
27?
yeah, 27. The side by sides were out of control. You know how many? There's a bunch of closed roads everywhere. They're going down those. They're going down habitat areas. At prime time, like 6:30 in the morning, you'll hear them roll by, and then you can just see the elk just shut up immediately. They'll get out, bugle. You can hear the machine shut off. They'll bugle like 3 feet away, drive away. I've had multiple times. I sat at Wallow one day. I had 5 guys just walk right through prime time. It's me and Corey. We're on a herd. We got up to about 80 yards, and a camp actually started target shooting during the early archery just for fun. Target shooting that ruined that. Um, and then it's just all the people without tags. And what they do is they just walk around and bugle all day. They don't have a bow. They don't have tags. I just don't understand what they're doing. But
Were they out there with people that did have tags? Kind of,
I'm assuming they were there helping them, but they weren't. They were by themselves. They would just scatter out across the landscape and just bugle all
that's the
day.
problem with it with anymore. Is like you get one tag and you got 4 or 5 guys out there helping. And I get it. Everyone wants to go help the tag out, but they're all in different areas.
yeah,
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
surrounding, and when Deanna had her 23 North tag, she had it in 2019. There's 15 tags in there, and I had it in 2014. I never saw another hunter. She gets
Yeah.
it, 5 years later. My gosh, there was people everywhere. And
Yeah.
same thing, they were going through, the bowls blowing hoochie mamas left and right. It's just like, and the hunter's not even around them. I
Yeah.
don't know how you enforce. I don't know how you stop that, but man, it sure is. It's getting bad.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
definitely gets frustrating.
Well,
Yeah,
I just
I wrote down some numbers here for 27, the early hunt. We had 220 bull tags, 25 cow tags. The muzzleloader hunt started the day after, so the 26th. And so that
mhm.
was 40 tags, but then everybody for that hunt starts showing up 3 or 4 days before that.
Yeah.
And then you can start getting to the rifle tags, and you've got 250 rifle tags, another 250 for the next hunt, and then 150 cow tags. And then in one, the early had 225 bull tags, 75 cow tags, and then the rifle tags, there's 35, 225, 375, 350, and then the youth has another 150 cow tags for all rifle. I mean, that's just going to decimate the
Well,
landscapes. I mean,
I'll tell you this, and I've heard a rumor of it, is that Game and Fish is going to cut tags drastically this coming year.
Yeah.
And I think they need to. I know nobody likes to hear that, but we're running these animals ragged. I mean, from August to January, I mean, these animals every day is getting rampant. There's always something going on in there. But I'm just not hearing the elk numbers that we normally hear about. People are seeing, I'll tell you what I heard a lot of from guys, especially in Unit One, not seeing a lot of calves with the
Yeah.
cows. That's kind of scary. So I think Game and
yeah.
Fish. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a pretty big reduction in tags this coming year. Because I mean, I was talking to Cody Booz from the taxidermy place, and he gets all the reservation elk. He gets all the elk from New Mexico into there. He was seeing the same thing, that he's hearing that people are not seeing elk. I
And
don't
with
know
the
if it's
rifle tags, I mean, you see the animal. If you see an elk, you can shoot it from anywhere a mile away. And so with this many, it's like, man, especially with like all the fires that burned through, cleared out the landscape. I mean, those rifles, I mean, the bulls just stick out like a sore thumb, you
well,
know?
when that wall of fire went through there years ago,
Yeah.
those first 2 years, man, the rifle guys they just slaughtered them.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like beacons out on the hill. They're easy to find. A lot of big bulls got killed back then.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, all that growth started climbing up, and those elk can hide in it now, and
Well, that
made it a little more
locust and the cat's claw, that's where they all hide now. All those bulls, because you
crazy to
can't get
see
in
how
there.
elk get through that stuff sometimes.
Yeah. Yep.
So in Unit One, did you see many cows and calves?
I mean, I feel like I saw quite a bit of cows, but not what I was expecting. I mean, especially not being in there months before season and seeing herds of 100 plus cows. I didn't see near as many cows as I was
Yeah.
anticipating to see.
Well, and the rut got so late this year. I mean, I don't know how the muzzlers guys did this last week. I'm guessing the rifle guys are gonna
Yeah, they're
probably
gonna clean
decimate them a little
house.
bit
The
because I know
first
the elk are screaming.
the first 4 days of the muzzleloader and 27 were pretty bad storms, but then they just from what I heard, they just went out and killed the first thing they saw, and they did pretty good on
Not
those
really.
40 tags. Yeah, but yeah, the rifle's just gonna go crazy. I think killing stuff.
But I've been hearing a lot of people ask, let's talk about point restrictions on these hunts nowadays. What are you guys? And tell me what's your thoughts on point restriction, deer and elk for that matter.
I think they need to do it on both animals. I think it should be a forked horn on deer,
Yeah.
absolutely. And maybe a 4 point on bulls. Like we got to let these animals grow up to a breedable age, get a little older, get a little more seniority out there, and kind of up our class a little bit too across the state. I
Yeah,
think too many small deer, too many small elk are getting killed on opening days of season, where it really does hurt our population in the long run.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
you know the it's a trade off when you talk about point restriction because
Yep.
if you want to get your numbers up, population up, point restriction is the way to go. But your top quality, your top tier animals drop. It's like
yeah,
look at Colorado for instance.
Hmm.
It's a 4 point or better elk over there in Colorado, but they have more elk per square mile per capita than any other state. However, when was the last time a 4-inch bull came out of Colorado?
yeah,
That's kind of where your trade off is at, and
Hmm.
I get it because especially like on the with the OTC deer tags, man,
Yeah.
it seems like the forkies just get
yeah,
slammed. Every little buck gets out there hammered, and
yeah,
then guys will walk in and they'll bitch and moan about the quotas and how crappy it is because the unit's going to close by Wednesday, and then you ask them what they shot. And I shot a little spike, or I shot a four. Well, you're the freaking
yeah,
problem, man. Quit shooting the damn
But
little
that's
deer.
because we only get one a year, and everybody wants that status that they
yeah.
killed their buck or they
Right.
shot their elk. They got their one. That's
Yep.
all we get here, you know.
And I think that's a lot to do with it too. I think a lot of it's social media and crap has put
A
pressure
lot of it's social
on
media.
these hunters
Yep.
that they think they have to kill something.
Well, you
And
said it, and you said it, like Casey and I showed up in all our Kuiu gear, and that's how it is. Like that's what it is now. Is it's status, and it's showing up in all your gear and all this and all that. And to post a picture for your social media that you killed something with your bow or you did this, even though you shot it 20 yards off the road and it's a forky, like, well, that's what we get in
Yep.
Arizona. We only get one deer. So, and everybody says that it's hard. So I got my one deer with my bow, and
Yeah.
well,
that's what everybody's
and
proud
I
of.
get it.
Yeah.
I get it. You get these guys that come in and we see it. They get $3,500 into a bow setup. They get $1,500 into camouflage. They got a new side by side. I mean, they're into a hunt $5,000, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden they go out there, they come back with nothing, and all of a sudden now the wife or the spouse is like, well, all this money and you got
Yeah.
nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of
And then
people
you got
aside
little Forky standing on the side of the road. It's like,
committing
oh yeah,
suicide.
I could just tag out real quick.
Well, it's
Exactly.
tough too. I mean, you hunt, you're grinding it out for a few days, hiking 10 miles a day, and then you see that, they see that forky starts to grow. Every day that forky looks a little bit bigger.
Well, everybody's standards drop as the hunt goes on. It's
Oh,
Absolutely.
you start out here, and then by the time the hunt, 6 8 days into the hunt, it's like,
Yeah.
if it's brown is down type thing
yeah.
mentality kicks in.
Yeah.
But I do think that something's got to change. We need to let these deer grow up, and I think that some people, it's just about I got to kill something. Like you
Yeah.
said, Cody, it's a status thing. And I used to be that guy. Don't get me wrong. Back when I was younger, man, I just want to kill something. And it kind of brings me to a point where about a week or so, about 2 weeks ago, I had a lady come in. Her grandson was in here shooting archery in the range, and she was obviously not a hunter. And she was looking at the mounts in the store, and she came up to me and real politely, he goes, "Why do you kill these animals?" And my default thing was, I do it for the meat. And then on my way home, I'm thinking about this conversation I had with her, and I'm thinking, man, I lied to this woman because
Yep.
it's really not about the meat for me.
Most
You know,
expensive meat you ever buy, for sure.
exactly. I
Yep.
I don't need the meat. I have a freezer full of freaking beef, and I'd rather eat beef than an elk any day. Um, is the meat nice and it's pure and it's pro? I totally get that, and it's great. But for what I get out of a deer, meat wise, that lasts me and my family. Not we're meat eaters, so it doesn't last that long. But it's really about the conservation part of it. And I had an opportunity to talk to her about conservation and why we hunt, or at least why I hunt. And I completely failed to do that. And I felt bad about it because I wanted a redo on this thing because
Yeah.
I just I just what I did for the meat, and it really wasn't the truth about it. And I told you guys, my most memorable hunt I've ever been on in my life that I'll take to my grave. I never even pulled my bow back. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just one of those. You get to a certain point, it becomes about the adventure. It becomes about the hunt, and not so much the killing. And I think we need, as hunters, we need to convey that. We need to be able to, when people ask us why we hunt, I think we need to be able to say, hey, this is why I do it. And everybody's gonna be
Yeah.
different. It may be about the meat. It may be about I just like to kill things. Everybody's gonna have their own thing to do it. But conservation. If you look at where animals were at the turn of the century, like whitetails and elk, and we didn't even have elk in Arizona until like the 30s or 40s, I think.
Yeah.
You know, the see where that came. That's all 100% because of hunters.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%. If it was up to the liberals, the people that the tree hugger people, there'd be no animals in this world at all.
Yeah. You
So
also
I don't know.
never hear any of the negative stories or the times you go out and you don't get anything. It's all just everything you see is success. And that's another thing too.
Well, I was watching this
Absolutely.
video on YouTube, and this girl is called Lydia Smith, and she was on an Idaho elk hunt, self hunt on herself, backcountry. And I'm telling you right now, you guys should watch this video. When she finally gets this elk, her reaction, her respect for the animal is like, man, she's got it figured out. And I
Yep.
wish everybody kind of had that when they get in it. You see these people that, I've never been a guy that when I kill something, I hoop and holler and scream and yell and, and do the hula dance. I to me, I've just taken an animal's life, and it's almost like there's kind of a reverence to it to me. And I've always been one like, hey, if I could go up there and tag that thing, hit it in the ass, it's okay. Tag, you're it. Let's do it again. I do it in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
It's about the chase. It's about the one on one with this animal, and it's not about the killing part of it. And I think a lot of people um, need to kind of figure that out for themselves sometime. They'll enjoy hunting a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Noticing and helping out and helping guiding and whatnot over the last few months is the respect for, like you're saying, the chase, but just the appreciation for the hunt. You know, it's not. If you'd asked me a year ago why do I hunt, I would have said it was for the meat too. And I do love the meat, and I process it all myself, and I respect it, and I take great pride in it. But it's really not. At the end of the day, it's more about the whole process from start to finish. For me, it's preparing for the hunt. It's going on the hunt and all the memories of the hunt. And then the biggest part for me is the cutting it up, the butchering it, the packing it out, and the sucky part. I
Yep.
think it's just because I hear so much, so many guys that I'm with, they always talk bad about the cutting it up and the packing it out. Like that's the worst part. And I think I've just grown to love that part so much because everybody else dislikes it so much.
Well,
And
the
I
old saying, embrace the suck. I
Yeah.
mean, you have to have that mentality. I can't tell you how many guys
yeah,
I've been with, and they won't go into a canyon, even though there's a giant bull down there to kill it
yeah,
because they're already thinking about how am I going to get it out.
What is that? Type
exactly.
And
two fun. Type two fun. They call it
what is
fun
that?
after the type two
Oh,
fun. I
yeah,
think they call it. Yeah.
yeah.
It's fun after the fact. It sucks while you're
Yeah.
doing it.
Also, people that quit hunting early, like especially when you're a newer hunter and you go home early, I have never met anybody or myself that hasn't gone home. You take a shower, you sit down, and you're like, damn, I wish I was back out there every single
Oh,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how hard it was, nothing. You go back to work the next day and you're just like, man, I wish I could go back out there every
Yeah, as soon as
time.
the hunt's over, it's like it's kind of this melancholy feeling. It's like part of it you're relieved because the hunt's over. The other part you're like, damn, it's over. Like, in my leases in Texas, you would kind of get a relationship with deer. I mean, it would be like you watch these deer grow up, and then you start pursuing a deer, and you're through 2 or 3 or 4 years into chasing a deer, and then when you shoot that deer, it's kind of like, yes, yay, but damn, it's
It's
over.
over.
It's like, what? My whole life's been wrapped around this one deer. Now it's not. What do I do now? It's kind of like you're like this lost feeling. And same thing, when you're hunting. I'm talking about that hunt I did, that memorable hunt. It was up on the Navajo in a deer hunt. It was a 3-week hunt up there in the Carrizo Mountains, and I was into a week in this hunt, and I was running out of water, and I wasn't seeing deer, and I'm like, damn, like this is not for me. I'm gonna pack it up and go home. I was just burned out. I was done, and this sheep herder Indian guy come walking by, spoke no English, and I called him Tom. I don't know what the hell his name was, but I was trying to tell him, I got no water. He showed me a spring over a ridge. I had no idea it was even there. And I'm like, well, hell, okay, I can't use that as an excuse now. So I got water, but if it wasn't for him, I'd have bailed out that mountain and probably never
Yeah.
gone back. But because of him, I stayed. Again, I never pulled my bow back. I mean, I found one buck that I wanted to chase, and I chased him for 2.5 weeks. But because of him, I stayed, and thank goodness I did, because it became the
Yeah.
best hunt ever. So sometimes you got to find. Sometimes it's harder to find a reason to stay than it is to go home. So
Yeah.
Well, that's something that we see a lot in the shops. I mean, I know I definitely saw in this elk hunt. People, it was a tough hunt. It was a rough year. It was dry. It was hot. But you have people coming in, we're in Mesa, coming back here, and it's like, well, you're not going to kill from here. You're not going to,
No.
you're missing out on all that opportunity because
Yep.
you drove back to the city, came back home. It's like you took the 2 weeks off regardless. Why
Yep.
come back for a couple days? Stay out there. Go sit water. Go drive
Yep.
around. Go walk around. Like you're limiting yourself by coming home 100%. And
Yeah.
especially on tough years, like you're not going to kill him sitting on the couch.
No,
Yeah, that's why
that's exactly.
I'm glad I stuck it out every day. I hunted every day, didn't take one day off. I've got no regrets from that. You know, if I came back early, man, that would be haunting me every single day.
You would second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, and we used to go back east and hunt whitetails a lot. You know, Deanna and I, like in Illinois and Kansas, places like that. And you know, the outfitters would want to take you out in the morning, and they want to pick you up and then take you back out. I'd be like, just leave me out there. You know, I'll pack a bologna
Yep.
sandwich. I'm not going to kill anything in the lodge, so I just stay out there all
Yep.
day long.
Yep.
And it's amazing what you would see when you know, it's like sitting in a blind or a tree stand. You're like, okay, I'm going to give it 10 more minutes, and I'm getting out. And
Yep.
then I'm gonna give it another 10 minutes. And you kind of talk yourself into this staying. All of a sudden, man, Buck walks in. You're like,
Yeah.
thank goodness I stayed because you sometimes got to talk yourself into being there. You know, like, I've been
Yeah.
out in snowstorms. I was like, this is miserable. That my feet are cold, my hands are cold. I'm out of here, and I would say 15 more minutes, and I'm out. And
But
now,
you're the difference in the guy that enjoys being out there, that puts in the effort, that puts in the work, that's doing the podcasts on hunting elk versus the guy that's sleeping in his bed right now that doesn't give a shit about elk or whatever, but still wants to draw the tag every year and still wants to say he's a hunter and still wants to
Yep.
say he puts in the work. Like there's just two totally separate people in this world, you know, and both call themselves hunters, you know.
yeah.
There's the guy that's not thinking about this at all right now, that still wants to draw his elk tag every year and go hunt the rut, but doesn't want to put in any work or doesn't even want to think about it, you know.
Until that tag's
And
in hand.
Yep.
exactly, and that's where the difference is it's not it's not all of us like-minded people that are all out hunting these elk. It's the guy that's not thinking about any of this right now that you're competing with, you know. And fortunately, competing with, you know, that's what I feel like it is out there. It's a competition and
Yep.
who can get to the spot the quickest, you know. And it sucks because I have to compete with that same guy that doesn't want to put in the same work and the same effort as me. You know, he wasn't out here 2, 3 months beforehand glassing, you know, walking into areas. He got a text from a buddy on go here opening day kind of thing. And
Right.
that's the people that we have to compete with. And I mean, that just goes for life in general, you know, like everybody wants to be something and somebody until the time comes, and you
Well,
know,
when it comes down to, you know, rubber is the pavement type thing, and I'll tell you, I was in 4B one time hunting. No, he was back in the '90s, and I had chased this bull, and I had started way before daylight, and we went. I mean, it's Arizona, so you cross. I don't know how many roads I crossed. You know, just kind of, you know, he bugle, I bugle back, and I hear a truck pulling up, and I'm like, oh, please don't stop, please don't stop. And sure enough, he stopped, and I'm like, oh no, please don't bugle, whatever you. And sure
Dude, I've
enough,
got PTSD right now. When in the middle of the night, I'll wake up thinking of side by sides driving by, dude.
oh yeah.
That shit. Oh
Well,
my
I
gosh.
literally had guys, you know, my bull sounds off. Well, all of a sudden, man, it's like a race because here I can hear them coming. You know, they're bugling away, and I'm like, man, I've been on this bull for 2 hours. This guy's pulled up, you know,
yeah,
500 yards away. Now he's on my bull. It sucks. I mean,
Yeah.
that's public land hunting in Arizona, but it
Well,
does suck.
you know
yeah.
it's bad when you're like you hear a real bull bugle and you're like, shh, like be quiet, like don't do that again. Someone's
Yeah,
gonna hear that.
Yeah.
That yeah, and that was me most days.
I'll tell you a funny story. Went on Deanna's hunt down in 23 North. We had found this bull, and he wasn't that far from a road. It was like a burned out bull, and we glassed him up that morning, and we're kind of got up there that evening to glass. We're parked on a road, and so I literally popped the hood on my truck. Like we were broke down, and it's because a lot of times guys will pull up, you know, what are they looking at, you know, type of thing. And
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
my binoculars are hid, my binos are all hid, stuff like that. And all of a sudden, this bull starts sounding off. He's coming up this ridge, and I hear a truck coming. I'm like, oh shit, here they come, man. It was me and a buddy from mine from Virginia, and we're working on the truck, you know, and they stop and like, hey, you guys broke down. Like, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. I'm like, please don't bugle. Please don't bugle. And he goes, you guys see anything? And no, I haven't seen anything, man. Just, just looking for elk. Sure as shit. Boom, he pipes off. And he goes, oh, there's a bull right there. I'm like, oh, man. I go, yeah. I go, we've been on this bull all day. We're kind of watching them. And sure as hell, they were in there that night, blowing that bull out of there. But
Yeah.
you try to be creative. Like I've parked, places with my truck. My truck's my old flatbed. People would recognize my old truck, and they would
Yeah.
like, hey, I saw you on a ridge this weekend. What were you looking for? But I would park somewhere else and try to deceive people. Like I'm in a different area and try to boogie over to another couple of ridges to hunt. It's just it's public land, and you're going to trip over people, and people are always going to go for the easy way. That's just the way it
Yep,
Yep.
is.
that's the
Oh
way the
yeah.
world works.
Yeah,
Yep.
they want the easiest way to do it. And I get it. I can't blame them, but it is frustrating when you got the tag in your pocket.
Right.
What about ethical? Did you guys have a lot of people like blowing your stocks and things like that? I know you talked about side by side. You guys have guys like race to the bull and type of
Oh,
thing?
we did. I did. Where you'd be going after a herd bugling, and then you'd see a backpack with a little orange thing, and we'd call him backpack guy because we could tell he couldn't shoot with his backpack on because you'd see his backpack everywhere on the ground. But what I found is that you're never going to be able to chase elk and keep up. You got to get ahead of them. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people don't realize that they just try to they just go straight for the elk and just chase them all day. And so we were able to actually use people to my advantage. Usually I try to think about how they're going to screw something up and think about the future, what they're going to do, and that seems to help. But still, multiple times running into people like that.
Yeah, and everybody wants to bugle right now. And it's like everybody thinks when I take guys out, it's like bugle, bugle, bugle. I'm like, no, we're not bugling. I don't even take a bugle with me
I
anymore. It's
stopped
like,
because you'd bugle in a hunter from like the next ridge. Like if there's any hunter within earshot and you're bugling a bunch, they're just going to go right towards you. And that's what I noticed. So
yeah,
I
it's
would
always
do it
funny
at,
calling another hunter.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yep.
the thing is too is anymore these bulls are they're wiser than what they used to be.
Yep.
You can get everybody wants that Truth Series Primos video. You screaming, the bull screaming back at you. It just doesn't happen like that all the time. And a lot of times bulls are bugling, and they're just you're just constantly behind them. They're just keeping that buffer. You
Yep.
bugle, they'll bugle right back at you, but they're not coming in.
Right.
People I get so many guys that get wrapped up into this. Well, let's just bugle and just bugle, bugle, bugle. Like, man, when I was a kid, we would go to Sonic and get those rib straws out of those big plastic thirst buster cups, and we go out there and we bugle bulls in with a rib straw. It was like whistling at them. They come running in.
Yeah.
It's not those days anymore. It's not like that.
No.
So
Yeah. I found at right before light, I would bugle because it's dark and then you kind of know where they're at and you head towards them. But if you keep bugling your way to them, they're just going to keep moving away. Once you know where they're at and you get them going, that's the thing. You just wait for them to get going, follow them around. But
it was tough this year because they weren't bugling. So
no,
Yeah,
that makes
real
it
rough
even
deal.
rougher. Now you're spotting and stalking on everything and trying to
yeah.
find something.
And I had multiple spot and stalk situations of lone bulls, and it's like the woods is dead quiet, and you got this bull standing there, and you're like, all right, let's make my way in. And they're just sitting there quiet. Any little sound, all they do is just they turn right towards you and they just look straight ahead, you know. And he was so dry too; it was really hard to get close. But
What's the one thing you guys? If there's one thing you guys took away from your hunts, what is it? Good, bad, or ugly, whatever, whatever. What's one lesson you guys learned?
I learned a lot of lessons. Let me think. Number one, the most important thing, obviously, like what we talked about, is no matter what, you hunt as much as you can all day, every day, and just utilize as much time as you have. That's the most important thing. Start there.
I would just say just understanding the pattern. I mean, elk are just like people, and everybody takes the path of least resistance, and you can really start to figure things out. And once people start getting in the mix, they kind of booger everything around, but these they still follow the same routine. You know, they do the same things, and that's probably the biggest thing I learned is just kind of understanding them.
And then that was the hardest part about 27 this year is that you could not pattern these guys. They would just do these big loops. They'd go into that like cat's claw locust stuff. You know, they'd get pushed around and just they would not do the same thing. Joel, you know, who worked at the shop for a while, I was out there with him. He was on a herd for 3 or 4 days that kind of making their rounds, but then they were just one day were gone, never came back, you know. But if you can get that pattern, I think, like he said, I think that's key, 100%.
Well, pressure could definitely change that. That's for sure. It can really screw things up that way.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's funny. I had a late, one bull tag one time, and I'd watched a bull for like 4 or 5 days, and I'd pattern this bull, and to the point where I finally figured, okay, I can kill this bull now. I know he's going to do. I know about what time he was like clockwork, and I finally worked into this thing, got into where I wanted to be at. And sure enough, man, here he was with 3 other bulls, and here he comes walking through there, and it's going to be a 20-yard shot. I mean, wind's perfect. I'm like, oh, this is going to be, here we go. All of a sudden, man, those bulls bust out, and here comes a guy running up the big behind me through the meadow. I'm like, oh,
It never
it's like,
fails. It never
yeah, it's like
fails.
5 days of this, and I watched that bull run all the way across, jump the res fence, never saw
Done.
him again.
Yeah.
It's just like you put so much effort into something like that, and then it's a little bit of pressure just ruins everything. But
Hmm.
And another thing too is not only playing the wind, which obviously is number one with elk, but it's playing the wind, trying to figure out where the elk are going, and knowing they're going to want the wind in their face. All three of those together at one, to where they're going over here, the wind's going to be blowing this way towards them, but then you can get this way, kind of thing. So like thinking of all the different angles like that,
hit it from
you
the
know?
sides, yeah.
Yeah, and getting more aggressive too at times. You know, people seem to be very timid, but sometimes you just got to get up and go. You know.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people. I think it's easier when they're bugling really good, and also you got 4 or 5 bulls around you.
Yeah.
It's a little more easier to just go get aggressive, just run in there, and let's try to get. If you don't, you jump to the next bugle type thing.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are timid, and they kind of wait themselves out of an opportunity, and knowing when to draw. I think that's the biggest thing with people with
Yeah.
elk is like not knowing when to draw on the elk. I can't tell you how many guys I've been with, and you tell them to draw, and they hesitate, they wait, all of a sudden, then they draw, and now it's like, oh, bad opportunity now. So there's a lot of lessons to learn in elk hunting. They're not. It's not easy. It's hard, but it's probably one of the most rewarding hunts you can ever be on. When you're successful or not successful, what you learn is just unfortunately we don't get tags every year to put
Well,
forth what we
Exactly.
learn. It's like
that's the
that's
thing.
what sucks.
I've had two tags in my life for elk, and the amount you learn in 2 weeks is amazing. But then it's like, all right, how many years later is the next one? You
Exactly.
know, man.
I've had 6 tags. I've killed 6 bulls in my life, but every year I try to go out there and try to learn with them and do things. I'm with somebody that's got a tag or whatever. But if I had to wait just to learn from just the times I had a tag, I'd have forgotten everything I had before. So it's staying with it and not to mention, I love chasing elk. That's the one thing that gets me going. So
It was a tough hunt this year.
yeah.
It was a
Any
tough hunt.
regrets?
Well, I
I
mean, every
regret not
time you
turning my
screw
tag
something
in.
up, yeah,
What's
right.
that?
I said I regret not turning my tag in.
You killed a good bull, man.
I did. No, I did. I I couldn't have asked for a better hunt on a better year. You know, I wanted it to be tough. I didn't want to kill a bull on the first day. I wanted to kill a big bull, but I also wanted it to be tough, and it was tough for sure. So I
Yeah, I'm
couldn't
just
have asked
glad.
for a better
Yeah,
hunt.
I'm just glad I got the opportunity to go. You know, it's kind of a free elk tag. I think I had like 3 or 4 points, but I'm just grateful for the opportunity to Arizona elk hunt, and I learned a lot, and that's just going to make the next one even better if I get one. So
Yeah, we're pretty lucky to live in the state that we live in. I talk to
Yeah.
guys. When I go around in tournaments and things like that around the country, people, as soon as they hear Arizona, they want to talk elk with me.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
And I'm like, cool. That's one thing I can talk a lot about is we talk hunting. But guys from the East Coast, things like that, everybody's dream is to come out here and chase elk.
Yeah.
I had some guys in the shop that were from Minnesota, and their crossbow had broke like the first day of the hunt, and they were in here, and they they're just like they were like in awe. They just couldn't believe, and I'm like, this is a rough year. I mean, you come back here when it's a good year, you guys would be peeing all over
Blown away.
yourselves. Yeah, because but they don't get to experience this. It's like we can't take it for granted. Especially me, I literally have elk in my yard every night bugling all night long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of take things for granted, and then I talk to guys that don't get to see that. I'm like, I see where they're coming from. They're like, they're so jealous of what we got here in Arizona,
Hmm.
and we have, and think of all the species we get to hunt in Arizona. It's
Yeah.
crazy. A lot of people
Oh, yeah.
they get East Coast guys, they get deer and turkey. Sometimes they get a bear, and that's about it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yep.
kind of boring, but they do get to kill a lot of deer.
We get to kill a
Right.
lot
Some you
more of
don't get
them.
to
Yeah. They
kill.
get to
Yep.
kill a lot of deer, but
Yeah, a deer
Right.
a day for like 6 months or something like that.
Yep.
Is there
But
anything real quick? Is there anything you guys would recommend for somebody who's going on like their first time elk hunt, like gear
Oh
wise,
man.
or something to look for, or
Yeah.
no?
I mean, just don't take
don't
it for
bring
granted.
10 dudes with you.
Honestly, if you're that new, it actually wouldn't hurt to get a guide and learn your first time going.
that's a tough one, just
I don't know,
because.
One
really.
guide,
I don't
not
know.
10.
Yeah.
Well, but there's so many guides in Arizona
Yeah.
now. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
Quote
Well,
unquote.
and yeah,
that's the one thing. I see so many guys come in the shop, and I'm a guide, and you can do some research with them or start talking to them a little bit, and you're like, well, you don't know your head from your ass, man. I mean, it's like you're guiding, and it's not hard to get a guy's license in Arizona. Let's
no,
let's admit
anybody.
that. So
Yeah.
No.
it's pretty simple to do that. But I think if you're going to do that, get references. Definitely
Yeah.
get references. Know what you're getting into. These
Yeah.
poor guys from Minnesota. They had a guy, and I think they told me they paid like 10 grand for this guide.
It's
And
yeah,
he's
it's
like
crazy.
literally almost 70 years old. He can't hear. So they're now calling me at night, giving me the recap of their hunt. And they're like, we heard bugles, and this guy couldn't even hear anything. And it's like they were so frustrated, and the money they spent for a guide, they
Oh
were
yeah, you can get.
pissed. And
Well, it's bad. Yeah, the horror stories you hear, it's crazy.
again, it's I wouldn't say go do don't go watch a YouTube video and think that's what your outcome's going to be like.
Right.
They're definitely different, but yeah, I think that
I
getting
watched
it.
plenty.
I think
Yeah.
having somebody that has some experience to help you out is huge. And there's some people, and a lot of people. There's guys that have experience that will happily help you out and talk to you about elk hunting.
Yeah.
There's also people that don't have any experience that will happily tell you about elk hunting too, I guess. But
Yeah.
There's a lot more of those.
Yeah. I
yeah,
think fitness is important, being in shape, getting your gear down, your bow, making sure it's tuned, shooting your bow more than once before the hunt. Shooting with your pack on is huge. I mean, just start when you get the tag, start from there, make a list, you know, do everything you can. Take
I think
advantage
being
of
in
it.
shape is pretty big.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
so many guys, especially when you're up in you get up here at that 8,000, 9,000, 11,000 feet. You get pretty winded pretty quick. And
Oh yeah.
so I think being in shape is pretty big. And not to mention, you got to pack that thing out of there. I think the guys
Yeah.
that aren't in shape are the ones that are thinking about how am I going to get this thing out before they even get the thing on the ground. It's like
Yeah.
if that's crossing your mind beforehand, you're probably not in good shape. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
anything else, Antonio?
I'm good.
You guys got
Yeah.
anything to close with?
Oh, congrats on the bull, Cody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations, buddy.
Is that some elk meat in the freezer at the shop there?
It was. I took it home now.
It was, yeah. It was Antonio's.
It's gone now.
Yeah. I don't give away a lot of meat.
Right?
And Cody killed a good bull. I mean, and he did it on his own. And I know he and I have talked about it. He's, I'm proud of him. He did a hell of a job. And again, tough to go out there on your own and do this. Both of you guys. People don't realize how hard that is.
11 days by
And to
yourself.
persevere the way you guys did and stick it out. Not a lot of guys do that. They'll bail.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
congratulations to both of you, Ryan. It's going to come one of these days, right?
Oh yeah. No, I'm not.
Well, I
It'll
had
be even
Casey
better when
here
it
with
happens.
me, but my sidekick.
Yeah, it's always good to have a good woman as your sidekick up there. I can't tell
Oh
you.
yeah.
Deanna and I have been on hunts, and she's right there with me. She'll get her ass kicked a few times. She's like, "Oh, I'm tired." I'll tell you, on her hunt in 23, that she worked out. She was in shape, but I think we were day 8 when she finally killed her bull, and she's like, "Honey,
Yeah.
it better happen pretty quick because you're losing me pretty fast."
Yeah.
It,
No,
it,
and that I will say that makes a big difference when your spouse isn't calling you saying, "When are you coming home?" and this
Oh
and
yeah.
that. When they're out there with you, like, "Where the fuck are we going this morning? Where are we going
yeah.
tonight?" kind of thing. Like that. That
That
definitely
helps a lot.
changes
I,
things.
I got to tell you this funny story. I was in Kansas hunting, and this guy, super cool dude, and he didn't have a lot of money. He saved up for this hunt. He kills a freaking bomber buck. I mean, a giant buck. And we're going to retrieve. We're in the truck, and there's 6 of us in this truck, and he is calling his wife on the phone, and he's like, "Honey, I just killed a man child." I mean, he's so excited. He goes, "What? Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll fix it when I get home. Hey, honey, this deer's a huge deer." And
Oh
she's just
shoot.
reaming his
No,
ass on the other line. And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I got it. Honey, listen. I killed the biggest deer I've ever killed in my life." She was having
she
nothing
didn't
of,
get.
"When are you
Yeah,
coming
she didn't give
home?
a
This
shit.
is broke." I felt
Right.
so bad for that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so excited.
That
He
will
was so
that will
deflated.
ruin a hunt quicker than anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That
was
will
it was
ruin a hunt quicker than
hilarious.
anything.
That poor guy. I was like, "Oh man." Luckily, my wife. I will tell you this: when I on that hunt on the Navajo, I came home and Deanna's like, I'm telling her about the sunsets, and I'm telling her about Tom the Indian, and she's like, "Did you kill anything?" And I'm like, "No, but listen." I go,
No, but listen.
she's like, I'm going to take you up in these mountains. I want you to see these sunsets." She's like, "No, we're good."
Yeah,
Well,
that was
guys, it was
fun.
fun. I'm
Yeah. This is
glad
a
to
good
get to
talk.
talk to you guys about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
this is the kind of conversation I like having. Just some guys sitting around.
Absolutely.
All we need is a campfire in the middle of us right now
Yeah.
talking.
Right.
That'd be the best part of it. So,
Right.
all right. Well, again, guys, appreciate you guys. Appreciate what you guys do for the shop. It means a lot
Yeah.
to me. And
Everybody go to Timber Mesa Outdoors, Cholo and
yeah,
Mesa. You
we got
gotta
it.
plug the
Go to
shop.
Sholo first.
Yeah.
All
Especially if you have a
right.
crossbow.
Well,
Go to Sholo.
Yeah.
no. If you have a crossbow, Sholo has banned cross. There's a sign on the door that says no more crossbows left.
Right.
I I've worked on a lot of crossbows this season, and I won't say I'm an expert at it, but I'm a lot better than I was. But they still make me nervous. But
Oh yeah.
Antonio's my life. I got to call a lifeline and tell guys, "Hey, how do I do this?" And he's got to walk me through it. People laughing.
Yeah.
I thought you owned the shop. I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm a vertical bow guy. I'm not a crossbow guy."
Yeah.
So I am glad to see that the law has changed. I will be that guy. So
I think
Yeah.
it's a
I'm
big
not going to
change. I think
complain.
it's a step in the right direction for sure.
It
Yeah.
is.
That was
It
that was
absolutely
a good
is.
podcast. If nobody listened to it, is that's episode 1, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We learned it. Brian Rims is pretty. The guy's pretty smart on this stuff, but it's definitely something that have to happen. And it's not just the crossbows. Muzzleloaders need to get addressed pretty quick. That's I had a guy in here just 2 days ago showing me a video of his wife shooting a freaking elk in New Mexico at 700 yards with a muzzleloader. I mean,
That's insane.
Oh yeah.
we got some issues we need to take care of. So,
Yeah.
but all right, guys, we're gonna call that a wrap, man. Appreciate you guys.
All
All right,
right.
Yeah.
guys.
For
Just
all of
let
you
it
that are
upload
watching this,
first.
if you're still with us, please subscribe and like. We'd appreciate it. And if you got any questions, let us know. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you.
Yeah.
See ya.